What's going on, guys? So we've got our slave cylinder and our clutch lines on, we've got our shifter linkage on, our pilot bearing is on. Now it is time to install the clutch and flywheel and all of that good stuff. Tools we will be using: 1/2" driver, 19mm socket. Those are to get the flywheel bolts on. I'll also be using a 1/2" torque wrench to torque the flywheel bolts on. 3/8 driver and a 22mm socket. That is for holding the crank in place at the front of the motor while we torque the clutch and flywheel on. If you have a 22mm box end wrench to hold it, that will work just as well. 3/8 driver and a 6mm Allen key bit. That is for pressure plate housing bolts. Those guys are 6mm to screw them on nice and tight. 3/8 torque wrench to torque the pressure plate on. And a clutch alignment tool, so that is going to hold the clutch disc in place while we put the pressure plate on and torque everything down. Also have some spray cleaner and a microfiber down there so we can clean off the mating surfaces for the flywheel and for the pressure plate because I got my greasy mitts all over it. And to hold the crank in position, we're going to need a man. So I found this man, and he's going to hold the crank in position while I put the clutch on. Alright, so we've got our pilot bearing on, so we do need this guy to be on in order to align the clutch. Our clutch alignment tool is basically just going to slip in the end of that and hold our clutch steady and align the actual disc on it. So we need that guy to be in place. We also do need to reinstall this panel right here, this little metal piece that goes on first, and make sure that you do have his rubber guy on the back in, because we pulled that guy off of it in order to get the torque converter bolts out. So make sure that guy is on. He's got a dowel pin right here and right here that keep him in place, and we're just going to throw those guys on real quick. That's one, that's two. So from here, we're going to toss our flywheel on up. Now, one thing to note, on one of the holes on the end of the crank, it has a dowel pin on it. So this one on the flywheel is actually going to be a little bit bigger, so you do need to get those guys nice and lined up. So one of these holes on the flywheel is actually a little bit larger to accommodate for that. That one is right there. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I get that dowel pin lined up, otherwise the flywheel is not going to sit on properly. So now it's on properly, that dowel pin is on, and then we can start threading our bolts in. Alright, so I'm going to get them nice and tight by hand first, to make sure they're all on tight. Okay, so from here we're going to start torquing the flywheel bolts. Now I'm sort of going to go in a crisscross pattern all the way down, sort of like pretending it's like an 8-lug car, basically. Torque it in that sequence, so just to bring the whole flywheel onto the crank a little bit more evenly. These guys get torqued to 77 foot-pounds, so they are pretty up there. And keep in mind, Arthur is actually at the front of the car holding the crankshaft in position so I can torque these. Alright, you ready?
Yep.
Oh, this is such a weird angle to be torquing it. Right. There we go. Last one. There it is. Alright. Okay, so now before I install the actual clutch disc, I'm going to give the flywheel a good wipe down because my hands are all greasy and I got grease all over it, and I don't want any contaminants on the mating surface of the flywheel. Alright, so now it is time to install our actual clutch disc. So on the OE clutches, this is a SAS M3 clutch. It will tell you which side goes to which. So I have one side, I don't even know what that says because it's in German, but that's transmission side, and then the other one has a motor side right on it. So that guy is gonna sort of kick it on there like that, spin, all that good stuff. So if you have an aftermarket clutch disc, I really have no idea which way it goes. Hopefully the manufacturer you buy it from will tell you which way. I know there are a lot of forums for like FX clutches and all that stuff which basically are people asking which way they go, and they'll sort of explain it. But basically, if you have an aftermarket clutch, I have really never used anything other than OE clutches, so I'm not really sure which way it will go. But regardless, the OE clutches will tell you which side they go. So we're going to take the one that says motor side, and we're going to flip it towards the motor. We have our clutch alignment tool here. We're going to stick that guy through like that, and then this end is going to go into the pilot bearing. We're going to wiggle it in there till it stops, and then we're going to slide the pressure plate forward onto the flywheel. Alright, So we're just about ready to install our actual pressure plate, but just like the flywheel, I am going to rub this down with some cleaner real quick, spray it down and wipe it up, because I don't know if anything has gotten on this. So now this guy has 3 dowel pins on the flywheel, one here, and then one up top. And on the actual pressure plate itself, it also has holes for those dowel pins. We're basically going to line up the dowel pins to get the pressure plate on initially. Get them all on there. And then from here we can start running in all 6 of our bolts that hold it on. And just like the flywheel, I'm going to tighten them down with a wrench first, sort of in a star pattern, just to make sure that the whole disc is pushed on evenly. And these guys get torqued to 216 inch-pounds or 18 foot-pounds. So again, Arthur's going to hold the crank while I tighten these guys down, and I am going to go in a star pattern like lug nuts to make sure it gets put on evenly. You ready?
Ready.
Ready. 1, 2, 5, and 6. Alright, so our clutch is completely on. At this point, we can pop our clutch alignment tool out. Come on. There we go. That's it. Our clutch is on. Thank you guys so much for watching. Keep it fresh, and I will see you guys later.